सुरुवात एक खबर. भारताच्या केंद्र सरकाराच्या मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेअर्स हांणी जाहीर केला की भारताची पासपोर्ट हाचो वापर करून कोणेच आपण भारतीय नागरिक व सिटीजन म्हूण स्थापन करपाक जायना म्हूण. तर ह्या विशया वयर भारतांत तशेंच गोंयांत रावतले भारतीय नागरीक तशेंच पुर्तुगेज पासपोर्ट घेवन युरोपा देशांत रावतात ते चिंतेस्त जालात. भारताची पासपोर्ट सिटीजनशीप स्थापन करना जाल्यार कितें? तर ह्या विशया वयर आमी काँग्रेस पक्षाचो आल्दोना गांवचो आमदार एडवोकेट कार्लोस आल्वारेस फेरेरा हाचे लागीं विचारले ताची राय.
The recent statement of the Ministry of External Affairs that Indian passport is only a travel document and not a proof of citizenship has created a lot of confusion and caused a stir among citizens within or outside our country. There is a post by Johnson De Silva which I saw on the Facebook, which I feel is with great sense of humor and sarcasm, which says, if Goan acquired Portuguese nationality, no need to surrender Indian passport. An Indian passport is only a travel document. These are his words. But let me tell you, this is not true. It is not correct. While it may be true that the absence of a passport cannot conclude that such a person is not a citizen of India, surely the possession of a passport is an acknowledgement of Citizenship Act. To put it most simply, I would just say to this, that just because some citizen of India cannot afford a passport, does not want a passport, does not want to go abroad, does not apply for a passport, and therefore does not possess a passport, it does not mean that such a person is not a citizen of India. Under the Passports Act 1967, under section 6(2), a person is not eligible to an Indian passport unless the applicant is a citizen of India. So that's your first foundation. Under the Passports Act 1967, there are different kinds of travel documents issued. One is called a category called passports and the other is travel documents. The category or the classes of passports under the Act are these: ordinary passport, which we all get. Official passports are those who serve the government or go on official visits as part of an official delegation. Third, diplomatic passports, which are issued to ministers, diplomats, chief ministers, governors, including the president or union ministers. They hold diplomatic passports. Travel documents under the Act are these: emergency certificate authorizing a person to enter India, certificate of identity for the purpose of establishing the identity of a person, and third, they use the word such other certificate or document as may be prescribed. Under this category, they are provided for passport for Hajj pilgrims. As far as passports are concerned, an applicant needs to be an Indian citizen. Therefore, even Hajj passport holders are passport holders. Therefore, they need to be Indian citizens. The question now is there any law in India which provides for any documentation for Indians to obtain citizenship certificate or to provide an ID card? We have a Citizenship Act 1955 which recognizes who are Indian citizens in terms of the constitutional provisions. By virtue of section 14A of the Citizenship Act 1955, inserted in the year 2003 by a 2003 amendment assented in 2004, the central government has now made a provision to empower the central government itself to issue national identity cards. It also provides for procedure to be followed as will be prescribed. Except for Rule 17 of the Citizenship Rules 2009, which only provides for the registers to be maintained of the citizens, there is no procedure which I have found prescribed for this National Register of Citizens, which we call NRC. As of now, non-Indians are given citizenship certificates, But under the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, certain people who are non-Muslim refugees, which are Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians, who fled from religious persecution in Pakistan, Bangladesh or Afghanistan and arrived in India before 31st December 2014 are entitled to be registered as citizens, which means, as I said earlier, all non-Indians will actually who apply and get themselves registered or conferred with Indian citizenship, they will get certificates, but we Indians cannot apply or get any certificate of citizenship because that provision has not been enforced. Now the next question is, does the law recognize a passport as an important document to ascertain citizenship? I have already mentioned that to obtain an Indian passport, it is a sine qua non that the applicant has to be an Indian citizen. Now, if a person voluntarily acquires citizenship of another country, by virtue of Article 9 of the Constitution of India, such person ceases to be a citizen of India. Reads under Rule 40, subsection 2 of the Citizenship Rules, power is prescribed, which says that the procedure is in Schedule 3, which has to be followed. And Schedule 3 uses these words. I am only reading the relevant portion. Para 3. The fact that a citizen of India has obtained on any date a passport from the government of any other country shall be conclusive proof of his having voluntarily acquired the citizenship of that country before that date. Therefore, the disturbing question is, if a person has obtained passport of a foreign country and this is proof that such person has voluntarily acquired the citizenship of that country, then why should the same rule not apply that in Indian passport holders are Indian citizens just by virtue of them holding an Indian passport? Whilst we look at it from a broader perspective, and I will explain what could be the consequences, there is another angle I will look at it, that while this statement of MEA is suspicious, I am not sure if the government wants to help some fugitives run away from India or avoid the long arm of the law. Because we have heard of some wanted persons who have fled our country and obtained foreign citizenships while not surrendering their Indian citizenship and naturally holding an Indian passport illegally, probably they would get wings to fly. There are also some cases of people, including politicians, who registered their births in Lisbon, Portugal, and even obtained Portuguese passports. And when they got caught, they cancelled the registration and surrendered their Portuguese passports. Now let me tell you one thing. By their surrender of passports or cancellation of their registration, they don't automatically reacquire Indian citizenship. There is no statutory provision allowing them to avail of what we call restoration of citizenship merely on the cancellation or giving up of some citizenship of another country. You might have cancelled there in Portugal and gone to Singapore. You might have cancelled there and gone to USA. You might have gone from there to some other country, but doesn't necessarily mean you came to India. So there can't be any such prima facie or presumption on that respect, just because you had earlier an Indian passport. What many have done is suppress the fact of obtaining registrations and of obtaining Portuguese passports and merely showed the Indian passport to claim to be Indian citizens. I have documents of several politicians who have done so. Now apply this statement of MEA. This means such people will not automatically get certification of citizenship on the strength of the Indian passport. Do you remember the cases under CAA amendment where many people were pushed into Bangladesh? The consequence of this statement that Indian passport is only a travel document and not a proof of Indian citizenship has these effects. First, enforcement of NRC, the National Citizenship Register. Honestly, I would not have any objection to it. But seeing what was done during SIR, it is clear that this will be a textbook repetition of Nazi Hitler's purification drive to derive the pure German bloodline for citizenship, which you know how it will work in India. Secondly, large number of people who will be affected will be the poor, uneducated, who don't have their births registered or maintained documents properly. Many poor people don't even have place, they don't have cupboards, they don't even have proper almiras to keep things inside, metal ones. Probably their documents may be eaten, houses may have been destroyed. These people, along with people who are targets of the government and those who are opponents who don't toe the line of the government, will be rounded up and put in detention centers. Third, these people who have been detained in detention centers risk being pushed into a country they have never been or never seen and where they have no connection or relation. Fourthly, you will defranchise these people. Now, remember, in the SIR case, the Supreme Court said that the electoral registration officer can make a summary inquiry as to whether the applicant who wants to enroll himself in the electoral roll is a citizen of India, but also says that is only prima facie it is subject to a decision under the Citizenship Act. So, well, if that is going to be a criteria which they will use and finally come with the base of you being not a citizen, then your name risks getting knocked off from the electoral roll. Do you remember demonetization? It was done just before elections. Remember SIR? It was done just before elections in many states. And now this NRC will surely happen almost at the last minute when elections are due. This way, candidates can be eliminated and voters who are suspected to be voters of an opposition candidate or an opposition party or opposition sympathizers will be made to run helter-skelter and perhaps fight it out after elections, just like SIR. Fifthly, as far as those who have registered their births in Portugal and obtained Portuguese passports but now cancelled their registrations in Lisbon or even surrendered their passports will also be targets for denial of Indian citizenship, because as I mentioned earlier, the cancellation of the registrations or the Portuguese citizenship, or for that matter any foreign citizenship, does not automatically confer or restore Indian citizenship. Therefore, we need to be prepared for the game ahead, which will be played politically, psychologically, and with an intent to create what they want, the nation of their people, their voters, and eliminate every opposition and put others inside. Those who have documents, those who are educated may also face hurdles running from pillar to post, but still this is a question mark which will be over the minds of every citizen in the country.
तर ह्यो जाणांतल्या आमच्या कांय सुसेगाद दंपार गोंयच्यो तशेंच भायल्या देशां रावतल्या गोंयकारांच्यो खबरो कोंकणींतल्यान मेलबर्न ऑस्ट्रेलियासान. मेळया दुसऱ्या सोमानात, ते मेरेन मोग आसूंदी.